morning, Patrick.
G'day, Ross. Ross, what's it like going to a two-team town? What's the difference between that and Melbourne, and just pressure or?
Yeah, it's good question. The intensity is the same. So everyone said, "How are you going to handle the fishbowl in Perth?" And my comment was, I'd find it hard to believe it could be any more intense than Melbourne. But the difference is, not so much for me. It's really for the players. Servicing and providing content to all the broadcasters, or all the networks here, 7, 10 and 9, and radio and print and whatever else there is really serviced by two clubs. So it becomes, rookie list players get elevated very quickly. So you can have a back page spread on a rookie list player almost. So that's the difference, whereas it's intense in Melbourne and there's a lot of coverage, but there's 10 or 11 clubs, whatever it is, servicing the whole market, and it just becomes a bit more personal here. I think that's the difference.
Lenny Hayes said recently, Ross, that he hopes St Kilda fans give you a warm reception on your return. What do you expect, and is it important to you that they do?
Lee Matthews, expect and assume nothing. So that's where it is. I think expect and assume nothing. And look, everyone loves Lenny, and I love Lenny, and and they were really nice words from Lenny. And at the end of the day, it's going to be what it's going to be. So I don't expect.
But what do you expect, though? Treatment. What do you expect? Do you expect to be booed when you walk out onto the ground, or given a cheer?
I haven't really. Look, it's obviously crossed my mind, but I think it could be any number. I think I wear a spray jacket, and I think there's that many individuals that make up the mob, but the mob will get a voice and an energy of its own. It'll certainly go in a direction. What that is, I certainly can't control. So all I know is I don't feel I've got anything to prove coming back, and my old player group have got nothing to prove to me. So it really is about the 4 points, and I really understand the interest, but I've really got to focus on the job at hand.
What have you discovered about Fremantle? You look at the list, and you three of your real guns, Pavlich, McFarlane and Sandilands, are 30 or 31, and you would think that if you're going to strike early with that group, they have to be part of it. Do you see a timeline yourself in the future of when you have to be? Do they have to be part of the premiership, or can you get past that?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm still filtering through the group, really, and understanding everyone's strengths and weaknesses. And I remember at St Kilda, it took me a full year to really get a full handle on everybody. And Sydney was a great lesson for when you think they're dark days, how they quickly turn around. Like when Lockett retired and Kelly and Creswell, all of a sudden there was the emergence of Kirk and Leo Barry and Craig Bolton. So we've got some emerging players. I think Aaron and David Mundy have got a lot of football in them. I think there's no doubt Matthew and Luca towards the end, but they'll be around for a couple more years. So would love it to ramp up as quickly as we can. We're certainly aiming to make finals. And we've really got to develop, Fyfe and Hill and those guys and Ballantyne. They've really got to become Thomas, Swan, Penbury, or, Hayes, Dalsano, Goddard types. So I'm really optimistic.
You got a tough job on Friday, because the bloke who had St Kilda last time managed to beat Fremantle 8 times in a row, I think. So you got history against you in that sense.
Yeah, and one of my but a philosophy is, past results shouldn't dictate future results. So we recognise that. Well, they have been a very good team, and we're an emerging team. And watching them last week, they got their hunger back, and their elite players are really leading the way. So it's a big challenge, and the bigger picture for us is coming to perform in Melbourne. We just don't want to be a flat track bully at home. We want to roll up our sleeves and give great effort wherever we are. So what better opportunity than Friday night when the football world's watching to come and compete fiercely, regardless of the result. We don't want to, and that's why Sydney, 45 points down, the ability to fight back and not give up. was what we're about. So, look, it's going to be about the players on Friday night. I'll just be the sideshow and you know, with Scott. So, yeah, we'll prepare and we're coming to try and, you know, reverse the last, you know, that 0-8 record.
Ross Lyon has joined us on Hungry for Sport. Ross, we've just had recently Eddie Maguire, of course, and Mick Moldhouse and Nathan Buckley have been in the news. You would have followed that. How hard is it to install your game plan on a new set of players who have been used to playing a different way?
Look, I think it takes a bit of time. The key to it is you get some results early to fuel belief. There's no doubt about that. So round one was an incredibly important milestone for us to play the reigning premiers. Big stage and not only win, but in the manner we did, like really fierce game, up-tempo game, and
quite a lot of goals.
Yeah, lots of goals.
Yep.
You know, we've been attacking, and even against Sydney second up, we had 42 entries to 17, and last week it was 52 to 20. But we haven't had the class or the composure or method to capitalise. So, you know, we're really trying to play an up-tempo, pressing, you know, contest the ball game. So the players really can see benefit, and we're making improvements. It's not perfect, but they know they're on their way, and I know they're buying in. So, you know, the sooner you get results, the easier it is. There's no doubt about that.
How tough is it going to be, Ross, for you to actually coach against and plot against a group of players that you experienced such a fantastic journey with? And, you know, there was a lot of emotion shown after that finals loss and also the last game that you actually coached St Kilda. How tough it is to sit down and hope that, you know, Riewoldt doesn't play a good game, that Lenny Hayes is held, and Montagna and all these guys and Goddard, that you bring down their demise.
Well, I just related to how you went about it, Kevin. I mean, I know you had the great Tom Hafey, but I think, you know, you played some of your best footy under Tony Jewell, didn't you? You know, so at the end, not at the end, well, at the end of the day, we're professionals and we've got competitive, you know, we go and play a backyard game of footy or marbles and we're going to compete. So I don't expect it to be any different.
Ross, just across the competition, I mean, there's this argument with Collingwood about game plan changes. And do you see a difference, a significant difference in football this year than last year? Do you see, is it just a
longer kicking? It seems that people reckon they're beating the press, isn't it, Pat?
Is the game plan been massaged, or has it been quite dramatically changed?
Well, I think longer kicking was on the back of 2009, so 2010, and particularly the grand final. So when the pressure's hot, it's long as 50-50. That hasn't changed. And what pressing football's done, it's really just man-on-man football, to be frank. It's not complicated. And rather than sit back and wait for the opposition to kick it to you, you're going up to get it off them. And it's really forced quick ball movement. So that's what it's done. So if you don't move it quickly, you're going to get pinned. So the press has actually sped the game up, and teams are really trying to play on and not muck around with it in their defensive half and get it out of there. So that's what's forced the long kicking and the contested marks and the power forward coming back into the game. And teams are getting better at it, but it's still about, if you're a dominant clearance team and you can go forward and your pressure's really good, it is quite difficult for teams to get out.
Just, you mentioned before, Ross Lyons joined us on Hungry for Sport about Nathan Fyfe, and hopefully they take the next step. He's got a busted shoulder. Some of the reports this morning in Melbourne suggesting he may play this week. So what's the latest with Nathan Fyfe? Yeah,
I did some press and we released a statement. He just had he obviously had the reconstruction last year. He's quite hypermobile, that loose jointed, and he had a sublux, but you can remember a number of players, and Ty Kennelly's probably the most vivid that people remember. He had lots of dislocations in 1 year, but was able to, they just put it back in and you keep going. So with Nathan, there was a slight sublux, went back in straight away. So what we're determining here is, as of yesterday, he's saying, I want to play and I feel good. And
so did Luke Ball.
Yeah, well, I'm not privy to that, and it's terrible to see, another reconstruction, but from Nathan's point of view, we've got the long-term consideration here. Is it safe for him to play on? And if it does it would be a cut-off. So he's basically saying, I'm right, we can play him. We're going to get another surgical opinion. If there's no risk going forward, and just let him go. If it maybe one more dislocation, we might tap him out, or the surgeon will say, look, we think it's best to have it done. So that's why he's confident he'll play, we're confident he'll play, but it'll still be the long-term consideration that will take hold.
Ross, when you took over of Freo, everyone said, well, they'll play Saints footy, they'll lock down the opposition, and some people thought that you played boring football, even though it was winning football. So just from what you just said with Patrick, with the changing of the game, are you making adjustments all the time yourself in your own coaching philosophies in taking over Freo?
Yeah, look, last year I really played a lot quicker footy. The Saints were, second half of the year, last 12 games, the number one play-on percentage, or number two, really. So they were really high. We started to move the ball quick because we were getting stuck in our back 50. So, I mean, that had already changed, to be frank. And Fremantle, we like to go, we like to play on, and, Saints footy's misconstrued a little bit. I think it was, at times, it was really quite dominant and lots of scores, and then there was some really tight, battles and low-scoring games. So, it produces different outcomes, but we certainly want to play we want to compete fiercely, we want to defend fiercely, and like against Geelong, and, we want lots of entries and score, so we'd like to be a complete team, but, when we're not playing well, we want to be able to hang on and not get opened up like a can of worms.
Ross, can I just take you back to the initial decision to go to Fremantle?
Do we have to, Patrick?
No, just the
that's okay.
No, just the press conference.
Okay, yeah.
Because that was one of the most hostile, belligerent, edgy press conferences I've seen in my career.
Yeah.
Did that rattle you or shake you, or?
Did it?
Yeah.
Not really. To be honest, no. Because I was comfortable with everything
that it transpired. I accept that, but still there was...
That makes it a lot easier.
I thought it was the machetes the reporters were holding that may have left you a bit uneasy.
Yeah, look, it certainly didn't rattle me. I'd been through some big ones with the Saints, and certainly early in my coaching career, I didn't handle the press very well at all, and and hence I texted Mark Neal just to offer a bit of support, because until you're in there and you feel it. But what I learned is to prepare, and the journalists, it's not personal, they're just doing their jobs. Everyone's doing their best, trying to provide content and get an angle, and there's so much, the race to be heard and get out there first, or rise above the noise with the new media and the old media. It's quite brutal, so I prepared for it. I was really comfortable with where I sat, so I didn't shy away from anything, and I actually walked out and thought, gee, that wasn't too bad, because I'd prepared for it and I was really comfortable, and I certainly don't hold... I think there was a couple in Melbourne that were way out of line and were factually incorrect that I still don't enjoy, and, but outside of that... it was an interesting experience.
Oh, I bet it was. My spies over in West Australia told me you've bounced back pretty well, and you're on the social pages and you're at the races.
No, I went to the races once, and that was just to support a sponsor. So, yeah, I'm really... 3 young kids, and no social pages for me.
So you're not the...
Certainly, if it was about looks and humour and personality... I don't think I'd be in a job, but if it's about, trying to lead a player group and give them some direction, I'm reasonable at that. So I think I'll try and stick to my strengths.
Ross, thanks for joining us today. I'll just read out this text message, a lot coming through. Brad says, there will be boos, Ross, but some of us still love you, and thank you for your efforts. So looking forward to a big game on Friday night, and thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Patrick.